Friday. So, where are we? Let me just get rid of this. So hit the gym. Really cool. Emma, who runs F45, she gave us some really cool feedback. Was saying that I'm pretty much she's been really impressed with my how I've been going, which is pretty cool. But I will be honest, I feel like I've like that week was when I really started to find my stride. Had really good momentum and all that sort of stuff, and that was really cool. So swap with Beck. Beck shot home, and Beck shot out, and as she was leaving the door, Lexi came out, and it's still really dark, and Lex said to us, she's like, "Dad, why are you guys awake when it's still night?" And I'm like, "Well, it's actually morning, darling, but it's early, and yeah, this is what happens." So we go to the gym and we exercise, and she was going, "Oh, okay, cool." So she asked if she could stay up, and I was like, "Yeah, for sure, like that's fine." For those who are familiar with grow clocks, we've got a grow clock, so they usually wait for the sun to come up. That's when they know to get out of bed. But she asked if she could stay up, and I was like, "Yeah, sure." So I was pretty knackered. I was going to try and have another 15-minute kip, and said to her, "Listen, I'm going to have another sleep." I set a timer on my phone, come wake me up. And so she was doing a puzzle. She's like a mother, eh? So cool. So she did this little, I think it was like a 50-piece puzzle or a 100-piece puzzle or something like that. And it must have been 50-piece while I was having a nap. Then I woke up and we went outside and jumped in an ice bath, and she was my little what do you call it, like timekeeper. And so that was really nice. So he came inside, helped do the puzzle, and then we started going through the morning routine, and so it was cool for her to do that routine with me together, rather than it just being like something that Dad does or something that she gets to see that I do as well, so that was really cool. So we got out, and after that she wanted to play this card game called Sleeping Queens. It was made by kids, and it's a great kids game. And so we sat at the table and we started just playing Sleeping Queens, and that's when Beck came home, and Beck could tell straight away that Lex has already had a really great morning. And one of the things that that I love about kids is that they're just so present. Like, they just relish the moment with you. Hey, they're so present, and it's so beautiful. So it was really cool. Yeah. So Beck came home and saw that. She was having a great time, and just loving the moment. Hey, yeah. So that was rewarding. It was a really nice way to start the day. So anyway, then the kids said they wanted smoothies for brekkie, so I punched them out for them. And then there are a few things around the house that I wanted to tie off, which I just haven't got around to. So while Beck went and dropped the kids to school and all that, I chucked on a book called Leading Through Culture by Ken Wilcox. I think it's Ken Wilcox. Anyway, really great book. He was the CEO for Silicon Valley Bank for quite a while. And really, really, I don't really, if you'd ask me what I got out of it, I'd have to kind of like dig through. And I find that some books that there's like proper nuggets, where you're like, oh, that's really actionable, and others just kind of like change your mentality and your approach. I'd say probably humility actually is probably one of the things that seemed to come out of that book, was that he certainly didn't have everything nailed. He knew it, and was intentional in using the team around him and empowering those around him. And I feel like that's probably like the theme that I've noticed. I'm going to listen to it again because I really did enjoy that. So it was really cool. Anyway, so I was listening to it while I went and got all the electrical stuff and a light switch. We need to change a light switch on the front because with the renovations that got done in our house, the front light switch kind of got a bit buggered. So I went and did that, and then swapped out a GPO outside, which was necessary too. And so I did that, and that was nice. And then I made this little planner as well. It took me a little while to kind of get it how I like it in a format that I think is usable as well. And yeah, and so I mucked around with a format for that. Yeah, one of the things that I did, which was really cool, was so I was talking with Jed about the Epic of Gilgamesh. So I've always got a few books in my toilet, and so instead of like wasting my time on my phone, I'll jump on I'll read a book instead of that. And I'm currently reading Epic of Gilgamesh, and I'd read it once before years ago, but it's nice to go reread it again. There's a specific bit that I want to read. Okay, so Epic of Gilgamesh. Siduri. So it's really cool. Aha, there we go. Great. Found it. I'll read it in a second. So it's a really interesting book, hey, because it was recorded or was written 2,000 years before the Bible, before the oldest literature in the Bible, and I mean that alone probably raises a little bit of controversy given the contents of the book. It is worth reading, in my opinion, for anyone, but it's I always think around there's this whole theory that says the longer a piece of technology has been around, the longer it is to stay around, right? And obviously written literature has been around forever, so it's more than likely going to stay around as it's a really great means of communication. But also I think the format is really interesting as well, is to look at, okay, well, what's the format of storytelling? And there's a reason why there's a specific format that most storytellers follow, because it resonates with people, right? And when you read the Epic of Gilgamesh, it's really interesting to see what comes up, and it's been around for like literally thousands and thousands and thousands of years, and why does it still resonate with people? So for those who aren't familiar, the Epic of Gilgamesh, long story short, there's this king. He's like unmatched. He's the king of a place called Uruk, and no one can beat him. He's like 2 parts god, 1 part man, or 1 part man to whatever, maybe the inverse. But nonetheless, like he's this formidable force, and I can't remember if it's out of the people's plea, but the gods make this thing called Enkidu, and it's 1 part man, 1 part beast, 1 part god, and he starts as a wild beast, and Gilgamesh hears about it, and he says, well, go send a young harlot to seduce him, and pretty much like take the beast out of him, condition him to the luxuries of people, if you will. And and he does, and he ends up like living with the shepherds, and he looks after the shepherds, and he's just this innocent, like, well, he seems to be, or at least that's how I interpreted it. Like character who's just there to do the right thing, and he's looking after the animals, and and he protects the shepherds while they're sleeping and all that sort of stuff. And in the end, someone says like, hey dude, you got to go put this Gilgamesh dude in check. And so he's like, all right, sweet, let's go. So they go to this town of Uruk, and him and Gilgamesh scrap it out, and in the end they go like, oh, we're actually equals, and they become brothers, and they just do all this wicked shit. And in a good sense, that is. And then Gilgamesh goes, "Hey man, like we need to put our names like in the history books. Let's go kill this what they call the bull of heaven. No, the bull of heaven, Humbara. It's something like that. Anyway, and he's like a watchman of this forest, and he protects the forest and all that sort of stuff. And Gilgamesh and Enkidu's like, hey dude, like you don't want to fuck with this guy, hey, like he'll chew you up and spit you out. And Gilgamesh is like, nah, like we got this, boy, let's go, like don't be afraid, like what are you afraid of, and he's like, all right, let's go. And anyway, so they end up killing this guy, and then Enkidu gets sick, and he ends up dying. Like over a period of 12 days, he ends up dying, and Gilgamesh is distraught, and he's just like, it's just this like deep sorrow, and he's just distraught for the loss of this brother. And there's this part of the story. So he goes on to the part where he's afraid of death because he's seen Enkidu die, and then the second part is that he wants to find eternal life or bring Enkidu back. I can't remember exactly what it is, but. Let me just read this little bit. I'm just trying to find the section of Gilgamesh. Aha, nice. Nice. Okay, cool. So there's this part where he's been going he keeps getting to these gods or demigods, and they're just like, hey man, where are you going? No one's been this journey before. And he gets to this chick called Siduri. And yeah. So I'll just read this little bit, right? So that's the context. Says, she looked, and as she scanned in the distance, she said in her own heart, surely this is some felon, where is he going now? And he barred the gate, and she barred her gate against him with the crossbar and shot home the bolt. But Gilgamesh, hearing the sound of the bolt, threw up his head and lodged his foot in the gate. He called to her and said, young woman, maker of wine, why do you bolt your door? What did you see that made you bar your gate? For I will break in your door, and I will burst into your gate, for I am Gilgamesh, who seized and killed the bull of heaven. I killed the watchman of the cedar forest. I overthrew Humbaba, who lived in the forest, and I killed the lions in the passes of the mountain. And Siduri said to him, if you are Gilgamesh, who, list all that stuff that he did, why are your cheeks so starved, and why is your face so drawn? Why is despair in your heart, and your face, the face like one who's made a long journey? Yes, why is your face burned from heat and cold? And why do you come here wandering over the pastures in search of the wind? And Gilgamesh answered her, and why should my cheeks not be starved and my face drawn? Despair is in my heart, and my face is the face of one who's made a long journey. It was burned with the heat and the cold. Why should I not wander over the pastures in search of the wind? My friend, my younger brother, he who has hunted the wild ass of the field and the panther of the plains, my friend, my younger brother, who seized and killed the bull of heaven and overthrew Humbaba in the cedar forest, my friend who was very dear to me, who endured dangers beside me, Enkidu, my brother whom I loved. The end of mortality has overtaken him, and I wept for him for 7 days and nights until the worm fastened on him. Because of my brother, I'm afraid of death. Because of my brother, I stray into the wilderness, and I cannot rest. But now, young woman, maker of wine, since I've seen your face, do not let me see the face of death, which I dread so much. And this is the part that I love. So all of that's just pretext to this, right? She says, Gilgamesh, she answered, where are you hurrying to? You will never find the life for which you are looking. When the gods created man, they allotted him to death, but to life they retained their own keeping. As for you, Gilgamesh, fill your belly with good things. Day and night and day, dance and be merry, feast and rejoice. Let your clothes be fresh and bathe yourself in water. Cherish the little child that holds your hand and make your wife happy in your embrace, for this too is the lot of man. And I read that, and it just, man, I felt like I was deflated, but not in a bad way. It's like just like a little, and it just went like a balloon. And the thing I find so interesting is this is the oldest written literature around a fable or a story or it's an epic, right? So technically it's a poem. And so I find that with all this, right, that here's someone who is just deeply sorrowful, and the advice is ultimately to be present and enjoy what you've got right now. And the thing I like about this is that it's okay, the one thing that we have as men, as human beings, is death. That is a given. But also the thing that has been allotted to us and what has been given to us is the ability to fill our belly with good things to be merry, to dance, to feast, rejoice, wash your clothes, clean yourself with fresh water, cherish a little child, make your wife happy. And it's just like, it's amazing how, and don't get me wrong, like I've obviously been on this journey recently around presence and being present, but I find that just so powerful that, you know, you've got this ancient text that predates the Bible by, you know, 2 millennia, and that's the advice there as well. It's just like, it's so cool. Hey, so I found that really interesting. You know, so I was telling Jethro about that. We're on the phone while I was fixing some of the stuff. So that was really cool. I really enjoyed reading that, and I find Epic of Gilgamesh is like, it's almost like The Alchemist, but for like brotherhood. You know, I find The Alchemist is like, you know, really stirs a fire in your belly for, you know, for going and pursuing your dreams and whatnot. But I find Epic of Gilgamesh, and as well, like, the other thing I find with like the ancient literature, even like Homer's Odyssey, right? I think it's Homer's Odyssey, whichever story contains around Achilles, and the deep love that, and listen, maybe homosexuality was a bigger part of like Greek culture than I'm giving it credit for, right? But there's this relationship that men have for men, and even in like with Gilgamesh, is that there's this brother, like it's your brother. And it's not blood, but it's your brother, you know, and there's this deep love and deep caring and deep passion for this man. And when that's gone, it's like it's a genuine void. And I just don't see that as much in our culture anymore. And maybe it's Western culture, I don't know. But yeah, it's really cool. Yeah, anyway, it's been nice. So yeah, so anyway, after that, I jumped on the phone to talk with our developers in Perth, developing our app, and that was really good. They're really good. Just going over, okay, like, you know, as we get closer to the end of this current like phase of development, what's next? Yeah, so that was cool. Then, then after that, we just covered over some more stuff around the development that we wanted to cover, and I guess we'll have the foundation of the app built, but then all the auxiliary stuff coming up as well. So then building out this 90-day plan board, and I'm pretty happy with how that's come up. So, give us the ability to have like 90-day goals, and then break that down into primary actions each week, and and have projects and stuff. So, and then after that, I jumped on a call with the guys who are doing the food coaching, I haven't really been engaging with them very much. Foodie Coaches is the group, really great value, but we haven't been engaging with them much until we get the open book management processes rolled out, which we're starting to they're starting to take traction. So now I'm starting to introduce some more of the Foodie Coaches stuff in. And then by then it was tidying up the house and stuff, which was really quick. Yeah, as soon as we did that, we shot out, and there was a family movie, Lilo and Stitch, was being aired open air cinema by the city, and it was a really, really nice night out. So we did that and hung out with a few mates of ours there. So also while we're there, I think we might have found, because we've got another spot coming up in September. More than likely, obviously it's not set in stone, but it's more than likely. And I don't want to have propaganda 1, propaganda 2, propaganda 3. Like, I want each location to be its own identity and like its own personality. So, when we started with the cafe was the grander gander, so it still had it paid homage to it, but it was just a bit of a spin on it, So with this, obviously we want a bit of a different identity for the next spot, and I'm pretty confident we found the logo and the name that we're going to run with. And it was really cool talking with Elle, because she's our graphic designer and she was there, and it was really great to be able to do that. So that was really cool. So yeah, anyway, after the movie finished and everything else, it was pretty late. So came home, chucked the kids in bed, and Beck and I are having to woosah a lot when it comes to how we navigate her aggression. She'll just like scone her sisters for no particular reason, eh? You know, my default is just give her a high. You know, that you hit her, yeah, whack, there you go. That's what you get. You hit someone, that's what you're gonna get. You know, and yeah. So you were finding. Oh, that's right. Oh. So we have started doing a thing where when we're both at our wits' end and when we notice the other person is just like you know, the logical faculty's gone out the window, that we laugh. That's the thing, is you can't be angry and laugh at the same time. So that's what Beck did. We're walking in, and it's the best thing as well, because like it surprises the kids, and so the kids end up laughing, and we all laugh, and then we're able to like slow down, think logically, and able to then action the appropriate consequence rather than just the frustration and punishment. You know, so that's been really good. That's been really good. Yeah, this was a really, really cool moment. So we put all the kids in bed. Tilly wanted Lexi's book. There was a book, like Beck and I spend pretty liberally when it comes to books for the kids, right? So we often go to a bookshop and we make a big thing about it. Yeah, you guys get to buy a book, and rah, 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 rah. You know, we make sure, like, we want to foster a love for reading and books in the kids. And so Lexi was holding this book, and it was Tilly's. So she said, "Oh, can I have that?" And I gave it to her, and then she calls me back in probably like 2 or 3 minutes later, and she's like, "Dad, she gives me the book that she requested from Lex, and said, "Oh, hey, this is actually Eliza's book," and I'm looking at her, and I'm waiting for the hook, right? I say to her, I'm like, "Okay." She's like, "Can you give this to Eliza?" I was like, "Nice." And I was like, "And then what?" And I can see her thinking, and she goes, and then nothing. And I was like, "Okay." And I was really surprised. And I could see that she wanted something, but she didn't say it. Right. So then I took the initiative, and I went to the playroom where the books are, and I grabbed the book. I grabbed her one that was the equivalent to it looks similar to what Eliza's was. And she's on the top bunk, so I climbed up and gave it to her, and I can see that I gave her this book, and she sheepishly looks at me and says, "Oh, thanks, Dad." And it was she's so sweet. And she was just happy to go without rather than inconvenience. And I don't like that. She's got such a big heart, hey? Yeah. So, yeah, just the thing I find with kids is, like, we might get frustrated or whatever. But then, man, they're so humbling. They always humble me, hey? They're so humbling. Yeah. And that was another moment. There's times we get frustrated with her, but then I'm always humbled. Yeah. Anyway. So anyway, later that night, Beck and I, we were in bed. And don't get me wrong, like, I love a good coaching program. I love a good consultant and all that sort of stuff. And I think there's a lot of merit in leveraging expertise. In fact, I think that you're stupid if you don't, right? But I'm also conscious that it seems to me that the people who kick the big goals are the ones who learn principles rather than methods and grow by way of mentorship. I think it's the whole thing about not just having everything spoon-fed to you. Yeah. Don't know if that makes any sense, but anyway, that was pretty much the end of the day. Yeah.